this video, we will go over how to use the buffer tool in our spatial products. Using the buffer tool, you can create a buffer of a certain distance around a point. This area can represent a trade zone, area of influence, etc. In this example, I have my Blue Nova stores showing in blue on the scene, and these represent my own stores. Then I have competitors showing in black, and shopping centers showing in grey. What I would like to do is create a trade zone around each of my stores of 1.5 kilometer radius. To do this, I can use the buffer tool. The buffer tool can be found in the Tools tab over here, or you can search for it in the search bar. Now, before I open the buffer tool, I'll make sure that I have the correct layer that I want to buffer highlighted in the layer control. So in this case, it's my Blue Nova stores, so I will select it, and then I will open the tool. It brings up this dialog, and as you can see, it is a layer operation that will be done on my Blue Nova stores layer. The first tab we have here is the fixed distance tab, and this is the first example we will show of doing a buffer. I will enter in the distance that I want to make for my buffer. In meters, 1,500, which is 1.5 kilometers. Then, if I wanted to do it on only selected stores of mine, I would select them using one of the selection tools and then tick on selected geometries. In this case, I want to do it on all my stores, so I'll leave that ticked off. I'm now ready to do my buffering. I'll click OK. And a new buffer layer is created for me. It gives a default name here, which you can change. I'll type in a new name for it here and just call it buffer. I'll then click OK. And there we go. You can see buffers of 1.5 kilometer radius have been added around all my Blue Nova stores. Now, it's not very clear the way they're placed and you can't see what's beneath them. You can handle this by moving the layer so it goes underneath the other layers here in the layer control. And then you can see things better. But there is another way to change it even more so you can see things nice and clearly. So I'll just show you an example. I will go to the layer properties of the buffer layer here, and I'll give it a higher transparency here so I can see more clear underneath it. And then I'll just give it a thicker border, and then I'll say OK. And there we go. Now we can much better see these trade zones and what lies beneath them. We will now go over another way of doing buffering. So I will tick off this buffer layer I just created, and then I'll select my Blue Nova stores layer again and then bring up the buffer dialog again here. The first way that we just did was the fixed distance method. There is another way of doing your buffering, and that is the aggregation value method. What this will basically do is create a buffer of a distance sufficient enough to cover elements in another layer that add up to a certain aggregation value in that other layer's data. So for example here, that other layer will be my competitor's layer. So I will choose that here by layer. And then I'll choose the column in that competitor's layer that I want to do an aggregation on to determine my buffers, and that'll be monthly turnover. So what I'm basically saying here is I want my buffers to be made around my Blue Nova stores and to cover a sufficient area that the competitors that lie within that area add up to the monthly turnover aggregation value that I will specify here, and no more than that. I'll then enter in the value, which in this case I'll make 50,000. And then I can do my buffering. And like I said before, if I only wanted to buffer selected stores of mine, then I would select them first with one of the selection tools and then tick on selected geometries. In this case, I'm going to do it for all of them. I'll then say OK. And my new buffer layer has been created. I'll just change its name here and call it buffer aggregation. And then while I'm in the layer properties here, I will also just change some properties and make it transparent and give it a thicker border and then say OK. And there we go. My new buffering has been done based on the aggregation value in the competitors layer, so that all the competitors that lie within these buffer areas add up to that aggregation value that I specified. And that's all for this demonstration. Thank you very much.